Are you hosting a virtual event and want to know what to include in your Know Before You Go email to all of your attendees? Well, I have been working on countless virtual events and have seen what works, and I have 5 things that you need to make sure that you include in your next Know Before You Go email to your attendees for your next virtual event. So stick around. Before we get into it, I do want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell so you get notified every single Monday when I drop new videos about events, right now virtual events, but all things event related. You can find out more about the virtual event work that I do by heading to loganstrategygroup.com. And if you're a podcast listener, I do recommend that you open up your podcast app and search the Better Events Podcast. It's a new podcast that I am co-hosting with fellow event planner Mary Davidson. It's all about more great content about event tips and tricks, and we'll be bringing on some friends that we've worked with in the past who are going to share their expertise about a different event topic every single week. So go check that out. All right, as promised, I'm going to share the 5 things you have to make sure that's in that Know Before You Go email. And first off, why do we call it a Know Before You Go email? It's because this is the email that you're going to send your attendees usually a couple days before, maybe definitely another reminder the day of. But this is what encompasses all the information that they need to know before they come to your event. Similar to in-person events, you would send an email like this that gives them all their information about what time they can arrive, where they can find parking, any other tips to help that day run smoothly. But one of the things I'm finding is there are a couple nuances when it comes to your virtual event Know Before You Go. So first one on my list, feels like a no-brainer, but I'm gonna say it, the event link. Number 1, include the event link. Where do I go to get to your virtual event? And the bigger you can make it, more obvious you can make it, button nice and big. I often recommend putting it closer to the top of your email if possible, but you want to make it as easy to access as possible because I can't tell you the number of events that I've either gone to or worked, and people are like, where's the link? I can't figure out how to go. And as an attendee, I found that's one of probably the most polarizing thing. If I can't figure out how to get into your event, I'm probably not going to show up. So just check that one off the box easily. Make sure you include your event link. And my number 2 goes hand in hand with the link, but how do I log in? A lot of these platforms, they're new, they're different, even if you're using Zoom. We are months into using Zoom, but maybe some people, depending on your event, haven't taken the time to download it, and you really want to make sure they've downloaded Zoom to get the best experience at your event. So put that login information there. Is there a password I have to have? Is it a password for me? Is it a password for the entire event? What information do you need from me so that on your event day, I can just click your event link that you have in my Know Before You Go and I can get in smoothly? A little bonus side here, if you're telling them how to log in, I would also recommend putting language in that email about how to troubleshoot. If they have problems logging in, who do they go for? Can they email you? Does the platform have its own tech support? Your Know Before You Go email is a great place to put it. So similarly to an in-person event where you would give people directions on how to get to your event, and maybe give them a number if they can't find their ticket, here's who you email or you call. You want the same thing at your virtual event. And number 3 would be what time your event starts. Again, feels like a no-brainer, but I found that some people forget to include this in that Know Before You Go email. Similar to in-person, you want to let them know if there's anything pre-event starting that they might want to log in early for, or post-event, but having that start time. And one of my favorite things is if you are hosting a virtual event like a gala or something that usually in person you'd have a cocktail element of, or have people arrive a little bit early before the show starts, I like to virtually open my doors a couple minutes early. Sometimes you can make it 5 minutes early, sometimes you can only make it 1 or 2, but you do want to accommodate those people that you have, just like in person, who are going to show up early and want to make sure they're in the right place, they're seeing the stream, they're hearing music if you're playing music before it starts, everything's working, they feel good. Similarly, you're probably going to want to start a minute or 2 late, just because you're going to accommodate some of those people who are inevitably running late to your virtual event. But just make sure you have that language of what time you start, what time you expect people to log in your virtual event Know Before You Go email. A really cool thing I did for one virtual nonprofit gala was they actually encouraged people to log in early and then gave them the option to get to go into breakout rooms. We use Zoom. Go into breakout rooms with people, with their friends. And so we were just messaging people as they arrived and said, hey, would you like to be put in a breakout room with your friends? Just let us know who. And so for those first 15 minutes, we got to recreate that in-person experience where you get to have small talk time with friends or people you know before we brought you all back together for the actual gala portion of the evening. And number 4, kind of talked about content a little bit just there, but have some content or program highlight. You know, these are people that the No Go Before You Go email is intended for those that have already said they're coming to your event. They've RSVP'd, they've bought a ticket, however you're doing it. But it is fun to give them an extra reason to get excited. Maybe it's a new speaker just confirmed and it's that person hadn't been on the list when I'd first bought my ticket. Or you're doing some cool after party thing, or there's an item on the auction you want to pay attention to. This is a great place just to get them extra excited about your event. So picking one element, and I'm not talking about the entire agenda and everything you're going to do, but just pick one thing that you want to highlight and get people excited about. And my fifth and final tip is guest expectations, attendee expectations, however you want to call it. But this is a good place to call out any extra information that me as an attendee should know before I come to your virtual event. Maybe you want me to come camera ready, so you know that most of us would like to have our videos on, and that's a suggestion that you put in that email. Maybe it's a evening event and you want us to have fun and have people dress up and tell them they can be like Zoom chic or something fun. Or lastly, if you're going to have live Q&A, maybe telling people that they should come armed with questions. It's a great way just to let people know that they feel prepared. What am I supposed to do as an attendee? What are you giving me as the event host? And it just gets everybody on the same page. So just to recap my 5, my first one would be your event link. My second would be how to log in, and especially call out how to troubleshoot if I'm having trouble logging in. Third would be what is your event start time? What time do you want me logging on? 4 would be highlight something from your content or program. And 5 would be any extra expectations you have from me as the attendee. And if you include those 5, you can always include more than that. I've seen No Before You Goes that are like 20 things long. I think if you kind of hit past 10, probably most people aren't going to read them. But if you at least have those 5, you're really arming your attendees, with what you expect from them, what they should expect for you, and setting yourself up for success and cutting down on how many emails you're probably going to get from people on your actual event day. And I don't suggest that you should just only send one email to your attendees who are coming to your event. You should probably send multiple. I love ones that are kind of a couple days before, and then 2 days before, and then even the event day. It is fun to kind of make sure you have those 5 in at least one of your emails. And then if you're going to send more emails as you get closer to the event date start time, again, you can never put the event link in too many different places. So every email that I send usually for clients will include the event link somewhere on it so that they have multiple times in their inbox. It's just like pinging them about their tickets to make sure they don't forget their tickets to your in-person event. And that's all I have for you folks. I'm Logan Clements, freelance event producer, and this has been another installment of my favorite tips and tricks when it comes to event production, strategy, and running your own business. I'll talk to you guys again next week.